a friend. You can even take the URL and paste it into a message. And you can send it to a friend here. I'm so glad for everyone who's been coming to the seminar. Every day, you've overcome quite a lot just to even be here. So I am so glad that you are not a smoker. We're going to continue our session with today's, let's take a look here. Perfect. Today's program, which is session 4, Becoming a Non-Smoker. Now, Dr. Marvin Randall is going to come later, and he's going to join us and go over some of these. Actually, tomorrow, he'll be here to join us, but you're going to have to put up with me today. Nothing wrong with that. So, by this time, we've gone through the withdrawal symptoms. We're already in that battle of detoxification, so we're really in the thick of it. I mean, it's not fun. So we've got to do everything we can to lessen the severity of those withdrawal symptoms and stay as positive as possible. And one of the ways that we do this is through nutrition and exercise. And we're also going to talk about heart disease, just in heart disease proper, but also the relationship between smoking and heart disease. So we're going to go through that. So here's a little myth. Smoking keeps me thin. We talked about the stages of grief last time and how one of those stages is the bargaining stage, where you kind of make little bargains and you make little deals with yourself. One of the bargains that we can make is, well, I need to keep smoking because it keeps me thin. So if I stop smoking, well, I'm going to gain all this weight and that's not going to be healthy. So really, the smoking is like a healthy thing to do. It's one of the bargaining chips. I'm going to gain a lot of weight when I quit smoking. Has that been your experience? Was there a connotation with weight and smoking?
I always go off deep end when I quit stuff.
Oh, yeah?
I go into an exercise, almost addiction.
Love it. That's good.
It's a good addiction.
That's a good addiction. Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's true. Let's talk a little bit about that. So it actually is true that smokers are, on average, thinner than their non-smoking counterparts. And that's done some research on the waist-to-hip ratio, which is a predictor of heart disease. One of the smokers' better weight does not necessarily mean better health. When you're looking at weight, or health rather, a lot of people just focusing on that number. But that number on the scale doesn't necessarily indicate health. You could have a lower number and be much, much more unhealthy than someone with a higher number, right? So there's a lot of things that go into that. Some people look at the BMI scale and think, well, that's the indication of health, but it's a multifaceted thing. So just being thinner doesn't necessarily mean that you are healthier. I did a little research into this. What's the connection between smoking and weight gain? When you're smoking, you're doing something with your hands, right? So you're at a party, you're smoking, you're doing something with your hands. When you stop that, your hands kind of have to relearn what to do. And one of the things that can happen is with the hands, it's going for the munchies, it's going to grab stuff, and you're eating. So a lot of people, when they stop smoking, they take their hands, try to get some busy work, and they find things to eat. You know what I mean? So that's definitely one of the reasons. Also, nicotine has an effect. Now, I'm not trying to tempt people because I, as you can see, can benefit from some of this. But nicotine actually raises, you can see, your BMR, right? So your basic metabolic rate. So you're burning a little bit more calories because your heart's going a little faster. You've got that stimulus from the nicotine. So it's actually true that the nicotine is causing your system to burn more calories. So when that stops, and if you're not making changes to the diet, if in fact you're actually eating more because you don't have anything to do with your hands, so maybe you're eating more calories, you can have a situation where weight gain can be anticipated, right? So we might be eating more food, something to do with our hands, the BMR is down, we're burning less calories, that equals some weight gain. So let's examine some strategies that keep us from preventing weight and gaining weight and preventing that from being permanent. So the good news, we can choose to live a healthy life, which includes tobacco-free. You have already taken incredible steps to decrease the likelihood of permanent weight gain by starting regular exercise. You guys, that are here in the audience, maybe some people listening at home can benefit, but I know that you guys, and I know you're working hard. So that's a good thing. You're burning calories already. If you're watching this at home and you're maybe like me, you have an office job, maybe you're a trucker. I remember my stepfather was a truck driver, didn't burn a lot of calories. We're gonna need to find ways to burn some calories. So whether that's one effective strategy that I did, and there's some pictures of me and I was cut, I was loving it. Every hour I did 20 push-ups, right? So not a whole lot of exercise, but a little bit, but accumulated over throughout the day led to quite a bit of push-ups. And then that 20 became a 25, that 25 became a 30. So throughout the day, I was able to do 200, 250 push-ups. That's a way that you might be able to do some exercise without sacrificing a large amount of time. Because if you're like me, you're on the road, or if you have an office job, the possibilities are endless here. One of the greatest reasons why we don't exercise is because we don't have the time. So if we can find an exercise program that is not time conducive, we can do it in a very short period of time by small intervals throughout the day, that can really add up. So we did not do this. Sometimes this seminar is actually done one session a week. We're doing an intense session where we're putting it all through one day after the other. So that's where this slide is coming from. But here's an interesting idea, something that you can do to do a 2-day food diary. That's in your participant guide, right? So writing down what you ate, kind of when you ate it, and seeing if there is a change. Are you eating more? Are you eating less? To try to stay on top of that and avoid what we can anticipate, which is a little bit of weight gain due to the lack of nicotine. Smokers often tend to eat and drink more calories than non-smokers. Some people associate smoking with food for that reason. They tend to eat less fiber and whole grains, tend to eat fewer fresh fruits and vegetables, tend to drink more coffee and alcohol, and they tend to use more salt. One thing that I associate too with smoking, this is a similar effect to caffeine, is that nicotine is an appetite suppressant. Right? Caffeine, I can do that. If I want to skip a meal, I would drink a cup of coffee and my appetite is suppressed. So it's easier for me to skip that meal. I had a lot of family members that would do that. Nicotine is a very similar drug to caffeine in that it has that appetite suppressant as well. So if we're getting rid of the nicotine in our system, now that appetite is no longer suppressed. So we've got to deal with some of those munchies, as you can call them. I think that's the medical terminology, munchies. And if you have those, you're going to have to deal with that. Eating habits. So we'll skip over this, but you'll be able to see if your eating habits change, did anything surprise you, and do you know what you can do to improve. So here's some healthy habits for weight control. Dr. Marvin Randall is really going to be the one to give us the medical science behind this. But here's a preliminary view of things that we can do for weight control. Eating a well-balanced breakfast with whole grains, fresh fruit, and low-fat proteins. Bob, did you have something to say there? Go for it.
Protein breakfast. I don't think I ate a dozen breakfasts in my lifetime.
You haven't eaten a dozen breakfasts in your lifetime?
Not much. Yeah.
Wow.
My wife used to cook it, and I'd say, no breakfast for that. And
yeah.
I could go to noontime without it.
Yep.
Always. Even now.
Well, you want to jump in on this little convo?
I was just thinking if someone actually cooked me breakfast, I'd probably eat it more often.
Yeah, sure. So I'm like you. Breakfast was a very easy meal for me to skip for two reasons. Number one, because I'm usually running a little bit late. I like to sleep in. So it's easy for me to go, I don't have time to leave. And then what I noticed is, okay, so I'm sleeping 8 hours a day. And then if I skip breakfast and I don't eat till noon, I've done some fasting, which has actually helped me with some weight loss. So that's how I rationalize some of that. But here's one of the things with this though. That means I ate lunch and then I eat dinner. So here's the problem with that, right? And I'm not a doctor, so you do you and eat when you need to eat. But during the day, I'm more physically active. So those calories that I eat in the morning, I'm more likely to burn those off. If I eat a big meal at night and then go to sleep, the metabolic rate goes down, and then all that kind of stuff kind of sticks to your bones, so to speak. So studies have shown if you're going to skip a meal, it's going to be the dinner meal. Dr. Randall will say that eat breakfast like a king, Eat lunch like a prince. And if you have to eat something at night, eat like a pauper. Go ahead.
Not to mention,
Please do.
eating breakfast kickstarts your metabolism.
That's true.
So it gets that system running first thing.
That's true.
Versus
Yeah.
when you're later in the afternoon, things are starting to shut down.
Yes.
Relax.
Oh, wonderful. And now your blood sugar's going up because you're eating, but you're also trying to go to sleep. So now you're getting less good sleep because your system's going up because you're eating those foods, but your system's also trying to shut down. So which one are we doing here? So sleep begins to be interrupted. Yeah, go ahead.
When you start 7 o'clock in the morning, don't get home at 9.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well,
I
Mine's
for
right.
many days I've done that.
Well, fair enough.
Hopefully.
3 or 4 a.m.
Wow.
Maybe 3 days.
I don't know. I don't want to know the 3 or 4. I think it's a myth. I don't think it's real. I don't want to see it.
And then it's a straight run. Like I'm lucky to have about 10 minutes to
I mean, you
Oh,
can
yeah.
have a wife to
Spend time waking up.
How many hours I put in?
Well, like it's all, you find, I am no dietitian. I am no doctor. What I've been told by people I trust in the medical field is that breakfast, most important meal of the day, eat a little bit of lunch, and then try to fast that dinner meal because you're already shutting down, and then kickstart in the morning. But hey, you got your schedule, so you got to do what you got to do. We're going to eat a nutritious lunch planned around vegetables, legumes, and whole grain pastas. And this does say to eat dinner, but it says a light dinner, and some people skip it. Some people skip it in completely. Do not eat or drink after the third meal of the day. I've been horrible with this. It's at night, everybody upstairs, you get that fridge open, and then you pop out.
I get the most hungry at night.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So we need to, for the reasons that we've mentioned, we need to avoid that. Do not drink sugar-sweetened, high-calorie juices or sodas. It's very interesting. Growing up, my fridge was always stocked with soda, and now I realize it doesn't have to be. You can just drink water. You know what I mean? So it's not necessary. And speaking of water, 8 to 10 glasses of water throughout the day, and exercise daily for 30 to 60 minutes. We know Brother Bill's getting 3 times that, so we'll move on. Tracking. There's that phrase. You have something to say?
No.
Okay, good. I'm seeing the hand moving. Okay. We know that phrase, if we fail to plan, we plan to fail. So tracking can be helpful. Continue tracking your food intake. A great free resource is choosemyplate.gov. And it gives you the proper amounts of vegetables, fruits, and grains, and protein for daily servings, suggestions for healthy menus. There's a woman that goes to church here. Her name is Margaret. She's got some great recipe ideas. So you can eat well, but also eat healthy. Sometimes the mistake I make is if I'm eating healthy, if I'm getting a healthy lifestyle, it just means don't eat a lot of food. So I just shut down the amount that I eat. But that can cause dangerously low levels of glucose. So I have events that kind of mirror heart attacks because the blood sugar is going down. So we want to eat, we just want to eat healthy. And Margaret's going to be really helpful to do that. All right. So we'll move forward and we'll talk about heart disease. Cardiovascular disease is the leading cause of death in North America and Western Europe. Number 1, there are more than 500,000 deaths in the U.S. every year from this, and more than 1 million people suffer from heart attacks every year. So it's the number 1 cause of death in those 2 continents. Risk factors are behaviors that may lead to a disease. So these are things that give you a lot of risk factors: high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, physical inactivity, which is why we stress that 30 minutes of exercise, obesity, which is related to the exercise, and then of course smoking. Smoking is the single largest preventable heart disease risk factor. So that should give you some consolation because you're getting rid of this, right? It's out of your system. So now that number 1 thing that can harm you, right? You are now getting rid of the single largest preventable heart disease risk factor. So your chances of getting heart disease have just dropped. So congratulations on that. So how tobacco leads to CVD or cardiovascular disease. So we smoke, it fills our blood with nicotine, tar products, and other compounds that are taken to the heart. Smokers have stickier platelets and more fibrinogen. Now, I wanted a better definition for stickier. What does that mean? Why is it a problem? What it means by stickier is that the blood is easier to clot together. And of course, that leads to strokes and heart attacks. So by having the nicotine and the tar in the heart, it leads to clotting, or it's more susceptible to clotting. Smoking increases carbon monoxide levels that interfere with oxygen transport, and it also increases blood pressure and the heart rate. Remember, we talked about weight and how smoking can actually lead to weight loss because it's increasing the BMR, right? Because we're burning more calories, it's speeding our system up. Well, that can take a toll on your heart over time as well. So when we have nicotine, there's clotting that's involved. It's increasing the blood pressure, but it's also increasing the heart rate, and that's a bad little perfect storm. Cigarette smoking in women. You guys ever heard of Virginia Slims?
Yep.
I never understood that. How could you market cigarettes to women? Like, what? How are they different?
They're longer and skinnier.
They're longer and skinnier.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I guess the marketing. So here's some information on cigarette smoking in women. The risk due to smoking is stronger in women aged 30 to 55 years. The combination of smoking and oral contraceptives is deadly. And the risk of heart attack is nearly 40 times that of a non-smoking woman who's not taking an oral contraceptive. Male cigarette smokers 2.5 times more likely to have a stroke than non-smokers. So now because you are a non-smoker, you are 2.5 times less likely to have a stroke. Awesome. Adding years to your life. 18% of strokes are attributable to smoking. You saw about a 20% decrease in your life. Congratulations. And the risk of stroke is decreased to the level of non-smokers by 5 years after quitting. So after 5 years, you're getting your stuff back. Boom. That's my risk level. So you got a little gold there. So it's never too late to do that. You've never, there's that time sunk fallacy of, I've been smoking for so long, there's no sense in going back now. Well, that's actually not true. Excess risk drops by about 50% within the first year of quitting smoking, no matter how long you've been doing it. Most of the risk is gone within 2 to 5 years of quitting, and heart disease risk almost returns that of a non-smoker within 10 to 15 years of quitting. So if you already have heart disease, it's still not too late whatsoever. So, the Bible discusses this principle of having a focus. Right? When we keep our minds fixed on something, we tend to become like the mental image we focus on. The Bible says that by beholding, we become changed. And I have an analogy for those watching. I've shared it before. Playing basketball, and I'm staring at the rim, and I just keep hitting the rim. I'm really good at rim ball. I'm really good at smacking this rim. But I can't get it in the basket. So what I noticed, if I took my eyes and raised them up a little higher, I was able to go into the bucket. Where we place our focus is going to impact our performance. So athletes often use a mental rehearsal for competition. So we don't want to focus on our weakness. We don't want to focus on the withdrawal symptoms. We want to focus on our source of strength, and that's Jesus. And look at this verse here in Psalm 119. It says, "Turn away my eyes from looking at worthless things and revive me in your way." So what are some worthless things when it comes to tobacco? What is a worthless thing for us to keep our attention fixed to? Maybe like a negative thought. The thought comes in, this is too much, you can't do this. That's a worthless thing. Don't fixate on that. As soon as you get that thought in your mind that you can't do this, it's a worthless thing. Don't give that attention. Fixate. You put your attention onto the truths of Scripture that you can do all things through Christ. Right? So these things, we want to avoid them. So, see life through, we're going to close here pretty soon. See life through the eyes of a non-smoker. A vital principle to understand is that a major portion of your battle will be accomplished when you act like a non-smoker in life situations. I don't like that verbiage at all because you are a non-smoker. So if you had some advice, we were talking about meals. Bobby said his meals were a little bit different than somebody else's. If there's someone who's got victory or has received victory in an area that you want victory as well, you can ask them, hey, how do you do this? How do you wake up? How are you eating? How do you experience stress and deal with it and determine to copy some of their behaviors? And this kind of goes to that point. So we're going to end with this here. If you will keep in perfect peace all who trust in you, all whose thoughts are fixed on you. So we talked about fixing our attention. Fix it onto God. That's what you said, Bobby.
Right.
You went in and He gave you healing. Go ahead, Bob.
You know, when the Satan takes away something,
Mm-hmm.
it's gone.
That's right.
You know it. If He heals you, if He heals you with cancer or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be gone.
That's right.
It would be the same thing, and just about everything. And as far as I'm concerned, if you're going to have a diet, you can eat too much of anything. My body usually tells me if I eat too much of it, don't eat so much of it. Cut it out.
Right. Yeah, you'll know. Your body talks.
You got to listen to your inside.
That's true. That's true.
And you can tell pretty much.
Well,
I got 2 cats. They all know me. But Tammy's got a cat. You don't want to put too much out there.
You don't want to put too much in front of that cat. That cat will get you.
So,
Did you know I used to trap cats?
Oh, really?
Yeah. I guess some vets, they want to deal with like excess cat populations. Because I guess they'll breed, and then you have all these cats dying of starvation. So we would put out these traps, and we would catch the cats and get them spayed and neutered. You said something I want to talk about. You said when the Lord takes something, He really takes it. And that's true. The Bible says that he who is free indeed. Right? When the Lord takes it, He's going to take it from you. And that's the promise He's given. So for closing, thank you for coming. Keep up the good fight. Congratulations on a huge victory. Just even being here. What you're going to talk about. Because now somebody else is going to go, oh, I've got this issue. And you're going to go, listen, my young son, come listen to a tale. Because you've been there yourself and now you've overcome. So now you are a much more effective weapon against this enemy, right? Because you've got a story to tell. You've gone through and you can provide encouragement. So congratulations on that as well. Thank you so much for watching. This again was another episode. We'll call them episodes. That's fine. Of the BreatheFree 2.0 Smoking Cessation Seminar. This guy, I got a little peanut gallery. They're packing me up here. We'll look forward to seeing you again at 6:30 starting tomorrow. Dr. Marvin Randall is going to be here. He's going to have 2 presentations that you're not going to miss. And listen, this isn't just for you if you smoke. Even if you aren't a smoker, or if you have another type of addiction, you're really going to benefit from all that information. So you're not going to want to miss this. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.